This week, Governor Jerry Brown, who should be flushed down, and the California legislature reached an agreement on raising the state's minimum wage to $15 an hour, which sounds great. Proponents of the law believe they'll raise the floor on America's working class, where some economists say the laws of supply and demand can't be suspended by legislation. Let's ask Professor Brian Brenberg. He is the Associate Professor of Business and Economics at the King's College in New York City, and he's here to break it down. Brionomics, let's go. So what is the biggest impact on a state like California raising the minimum wage over the next 6 years?
Well, what's so bad here is this actually tends to hurt the people it's intended to help, right? If you look at a place like San Francisco, a very small percentage of the population actually makes a wage that's going to be affected by this. But if you move to some place like Fresno, for example, you've got 50% of the population who could be impacted. Yes, some people will get a raise, but a significant portion of that population is going to lose job opportunities as a result because businesses just can't handle these wage increases. And I think what proponents of this law just fail to understand, and it's simple, and I don't really understand it, but there is no shortcut to higher wages. There is no shortcut. The only thing that gets you there is more economic growth, workers becoming more productive. And California just seems sort of intent on ignoring that reality.
Well, and let's talk about some of the bankrupt cities and places, especially in interior California, that are already having a hard enough time being hamstrung by unions. You know, you have businesses there that are already suffering. So what happens to those small businesses that can't afford to pay $15 an hour?
Well, so they either understaff, number one, and service goes down, quality goes down. It makes it harder for them to compete when they understaff. But the other part of it today is, look, a lot of businesses are moving to automation. And a lot of these organizations are going to start to do that. And again, that hurts low-income, low-skill workers. Notice what happens here. This actually becomes a transfer of wealth from low-income, low-skill workers to the high-tech guys who run the companies that create the automation equipment. Now, nobody's intending to do that, but that's exactly what happens.
That's a really profound unintended consequence that you point out there, because, you know, think about it. There are plenty of businesses saying, oh, we can make robots that will make your lives better, and it'll save you money in the long run. And then who gets hurt? The people this is intended to help.
The guys in San Jose and San Francisco and Silicon Valley, they love this. I mean, this is free. The law is creating great opportunities for them, but for all the low-skill, low-income workers, the entry-level workers who you want to get into the workforce, now they're losing job opportunities. Nobody talks about this as a transfer of wealth, but that's exactly what it is.
And it also hurts younger and minority workers disproportionately. So let's talk about something else that's happening in California. No surprise. They want government to come in and force businesses to schedule employees' hours 2 weeks in advance. Again, it's coercion, but it also eliminates flexibility for a lot of companies. How problematic is that?
There are a lot of businesses that actually require flexibility in their scheduling in order to make money. I mean, we all know this is the case with hospitals and nurses and doctors, but if you think about retail and restaurants, a lot of these businesses are heavily affected by the weather. They need to staff up when the weather's great and people are coming in. They need to staff down when the weather doesn't comply. If you eliminate their ability to do that, they're either overstaffed or they don't have enough people on hand to serve customers. Either way, they lose money, they lose profit. It's the same result that you get with the minimum wage increase. You're reducing flexibility for businesses, you're increasing their costs, and they have no choice but to understaff or, again, to move to automation, because the one thing you don't have to do with machinery is you don't have to pay them a minimum wage and you don't have to worry about their scheduling, right? And workers can't compete with that.
Well, no, and businesses in California aren't going to compete at all.
No.
And the state's economy is already in so much trouble. But the fact that they're asking for more government regulation, you know, my husband's business is in California, and I don't know what they're going to do when all these things, especially, you know, in manufacturing, when you have intense periods of production and output, you can't necessarily schedule 2 weeks in advance based on materials.
No, and again, that's why over time you're just seeing any business that can is thinking about moving to Utah, moving to Nevada, moving to Austin, Texas, right? They want to get, because it's a double whammy of regulation here, and that hurts small businesses and startups the worst. That's the thing you have to remember. The big companies can deal with this. They have the overhead. They can deal with this.
Big companies in big cities.
The small companies cannot do it. That's who you're hurting here.
That's absolutely right. And we look out for them, don't we, Brian?
We try to.
Brionomics. Thank you, Brian.